Hi, everyone, and welcome back to Bryan's Business World. We're on part 5 of our series of Building Your Business Toolkit. And again, it's what you would utilize, rather the tools that you would utilize in potentially purchasing a business. So in part 5 today, we're going to talk about personnel. So everyone understands that personnel, and especially key personnel, are extremely important in evaluating any potential business purchase in any business. Now, everyone says, okay, that's great. What do I do with that? What are the action items? How do I move forward with that? Well, let's talk about specifically how you move forward. Number one is identifying the key personnel. Now, this sounds obvious, but it's actually quite difficult. How do you, as an outsider with a good-sized business, really identify the key personnel? There's only really 2 ways, maybe 3, that you can do so. One is to ask the current owner or seller, potentially managers. You may or may not be able to do that in evaluating a business, and say, okay, who is really the glue around here? Who is really mission critical? So that's one way. The second way, and this isn't so great, you can maybe do some study of the industry, talk to some other people in it, and say, okay, in a business like this, what positions would be critical or of great importance? The third, and I think best way, is to look at the business and commonsensically ask yourself, what would happen if this person weren't there tomorrow? If this person weren't? If this person weren't? By default, you will define where the fail points are and who is actually most critical in terms of their role. So again, look at the business and just figure out commonsensically what would fall apart or what would happen if they just weren't there for a while, or tomorrow they were gone for weeks. Those are who the really critical people are. Now, a lot of people don't know this, but if you've ever looked at buying a business, you're often not allowed to talk to the current employees. Many of the current employees get very nervous if the business is being sold. They may leave. So very frequently, as part of the due diligence, you can't talk to the employees. So you've got to kind of figure out who the key personnel are through other methods. Now, in terms of evaluating, once you've got sort of a landscape of the critical personnel, you want to sort of, understand, are they under employment contracts? Does the current owner or team have plans to retain these people with incentives or stock vesting or other types of things like that? And you really want to get an understanding if anything is in place like that at all. Some businesses do a very good job with that. Other ones do not do such a good job with that. But really understanding, are there any retention plans in place? Are there any employment contracts, stock vesting? They call them the golden handcuffs. The golden handcuffs are lucrative incentives that accrue over time and make it very costly for people to leave. That can be an outsized salary and bonus. It can be that's accrued because someone's been there forever. It can be stock options or other incentives. And again, it's very expensive to make them leave. So get an evaluation if there's any contracts or retention plans once you've identified the key personnel. Third thing, create a plan. What happens if you buy the business and then none of the critical people show up the next day? Unfortunately, such things have happened to business owners and entrepreneurs. So what is your plan to restaff the critical positions, and what are you going to do if that happens to you? And would that destroy the business? Now, so that's a related inquiry. If everyone walked out the door in terms of the critical people, and then the business went under as a result of that, probably not the best purchase. That would mean the business is not really in a stable position, and it could be a disaster for you to purchase such a thing. So make sure you have some sort of contingency plan for every critical person, and run one scenario. I hate to be doom and gloom here, but run one scenario where everybody walks out at once that is the critical one. And if you think that can't or won't happen in a business deal, I would love to introduce you to some battle-hardened entrepreneurs who that exactly happened to. And many of them were able to rescue the business and rebuild it. But it can and does happen. So have a contingency plan for the critical personnel that you have identified. Now, last consideration in looking at the critical personnel of the business. Who else is critical but not there? Who else do you need to bring in to grow the business, to get new work, clients, projects? So who is a critical person that isn't there? That's very important to understand and identify that and have a plan going in when you're buying a business. And again, that can be ascertained by talking to other people in the industry, using good common sense, and even the current ownership, and say, I need to get a higher powered, sometimes they'll tell you straight up, I need to get a higher powered marketing person or this type of position to take the company to the next level. So that's my last comment for you, is make sure you give some thought to critical personnel who aren't there in the business currently. And again, what is your plan to obtain them? So I hope you've enjoyed our series on building your business toolkit, and hopefully you have some other good analytic tools to go out and hopefully do some evaluations in business. So again, please follow us, leave us some comments. We'd love to hear from you. Thank you.